I'm starting it.
Shut up. Nah,
I started it.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Well, just check the audio.
All right.
All right. All right, Israel, shalom, shalom. We back again. Another World History Wednesday. So last week, we went into the Medo-Persian Empire. This week, we're moving down the line to the next empire, the Greek Empire. Take us to the PowerPoint really quickly. Specifically, we're going to be touching on the Hellenization period from Alexander the Great until Mattathias. Next week, they'll be dealing with more so the Hasmonean dynasty, the Maccabees, the wars, and so on and so forth in there. But here we're going to just get into the very beginning when the Greeks came into power, when Alexander the Great went on conquering, and then his successors afterward. So the first thing we're going to get, let's go to 1 Maccabees chapter 1. We're going to go to 1 Maccabees chapter 1. We're going to start at verse 1.
First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 1. And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Kittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece, and made many wars, and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth.
So we're talking about Alexander the Great. Everyone knows about Alexander the Great in Greek history and world history in school. We've heard of this man, right? So it says this man made many wars after he slew Darius of the Persians and Medes. And then it says he made many wars, won many strongholds, slew many kings of the earth. So he was going on a tirade, conquering everyone, right? Read.
And went through to the ends of the earth and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him. Whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up. And he gathered a mighty strong host, and ruled over countries and nations and kings, who became tributaries unto him. And after these things he fell sick, and perceived that he should die.
So it said that this man was going on conquering everything and everyone. It said, and he went through the ends of the earth. So all the known world at that time, it said that he was out there conquering it all. It was a takeover. He took over everything. It says, and so much that the earth was quiet before him. So he went out, he conquered, he destroyed everything and everyone that stood in his way. It said then nobody want no problems with this man. It said the earth was quiet before him. Wasn't nobody trying to raise up against him. Wasn't nobody trying to rouse up against him. Nobody wanted any problems with this man. And then it says he was exalted, his heart was lifted up, and he gathered a mighty strong host. And we are on what, verse 5, right? We just read 5, right?
Yeah.
It says, and after these things he fell sick and perceived that he should die. So after his conquering, and we'll see that Alexander went on his tirade, and he reigned for about 12 years. And then he fell sick. There's speculation on what exactly he died of, but it says that he fell sick, and he perceived that he should die. Read.
Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable, and have been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them, while he was yet alive. So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died.
So it said he went on and conquered pretty much all of the known world in a span of 12 years, right? Let's go to, take me to the PowerPoint, Nash. So at that particular time, it was known as the Greco-Persian Empire. And in the Greco-Persian Empire, well, the name in itself tells you who was in power at the time. It was between the Greeks. The Greeks were just now rising into power, and the Persians had been in power for a long time. This particular this particular battle in the war with the Persians solidified the Greeks as the powerhouse at this point. Persia was pretty much moot. They were pretty much destroyed. At this point, Greek was it. Everything was a Greek empire, right? So we're going to read about the battle known as the Battle of Gaugamela. So it says the Battle of Gaugamela, the 1st of October around 331 BC, also known as the Battle of Arbela, was the final meeting between Alexander the Great of Macedon and King Darius III of Persia. After this victory, Alexander was, without question, the king of all Asia. Then it goes into what it means. Gaugamela, the camel's house, was the village in the banks, was a village on the banks of the river Bumotis. The site of the battle is thought to be Tel Gamel, which is Hebrew for the Camel's Mount in northern Iraq. So this battle solidified Greek, or the Persian Empire now being transferred over into being a part of the Greek Empire. Let's get, let's read this. The Hellenistic world, the world of Alexander the Great.
Yeah, I'll read it. Right, he read the title already. So, the Hellenistic world, from the Greek word Hellas for Greece, is the known world after the conquest of Alexander the Great and corresponds roughly with the Hellenistic period of ancient Greece. From 323 BC, which is Alexander's death, to the annexation of Greece by the Romans in 146 BCE. Although Rome's rule ended Greek independence and autonomy, it did nothing to significantly change, nor did it in any way halt the Hellenization of the world of the day. In fact, it encouraged it. Alexander the Great, from 336 to 323 BCE, of Macedon, led his army on a series of campaigns which successfully conquered the then known world from Macedon through Greece down to Egypt, across Persia to India. Alexander's tutor was the Greek philosopher Aristotle.
Real quick, it said Alexander the Great led his army on a series of campaigns which successfully conquered the then known world from Macedon through Greece down to Egypt, across Persia, right? To India, excuse me. So just to give you an idea, I'm going to go to the next slide real quick, Amon.
That's good.
Just to give you an idea, this was Alexander the Great's entire empire. Actually, it's not even the entire empire because it doesn't show when he conquered India yet. So India's not even highlighted yet. But this is pretty much all of Alexander the Great's empire. And just to give you an idea of how much he took over, the Babylonian Empire is what's in red. When Babylon and Nebuchadnezzar came and conquered Israel, and he was, we were in the Babylonian captivity. That's all that it was. Then the Persians and the Medes took over, and they conquered Babylon. And then it was just all the purple and the red. Alexander came, he conquered everything in the purple, he conquered everything in the red, he conquered everything in the yellow with Egypt, he conquered everything in Asia Minor, which is where it says Lydia, in the green area, and even a little across the Mediterranean Sea, a little higher up. He conquered probably about 7 or 8 times as much as the Babylonian Empire, and about twice as much as the Medo-Persian Empire. That man was on a tirade, and he took over the entire known world. This is why they called him Alexander the Great. This man was feared. This man was fierce. Let's go back to the article.
Right.
Aristotle on the third line.
Yeah, Aristotle, who impressed upon him the value of Greek culture and philosophy. As Alexander campaigned, he spread Greek thought and culture in his wake, thus Hellenizing to make Greek culture and civilization those who he conquered.
So that's what Hellenization is. Hellenizing, or the Hellenization period, was the period in which Greece took over all of the known world and then imposed their culture on everyone and pretty much made everyone Greek by citizenship, Greek by the law, but also pretty much making from their language, their culture, their belief, their quote unquote religion. Everything had to be the same. They had to conform to the Greek way of life. That's what Hellenizing was. That's how they had Hellenistic Jews, because there was a lot of Jews that sold out, as we'll continue to read. And even a lot of our history was translated and even began to just be originally written in Greek because we had to learn the Greek language. It was put on us that we must learn these things, right? So that was the Hellenization period, and that's what when Alexander the Great came into power, that's what he started doing. He took over, he conquered, and he started imposing the Greek way of life on everyone, thus labeling it, the Hellenization period. Read on.
After Alexander's death, his empire was divided among his 4 generals, known in Latin as the Diadochi, the name by which they are still referred from the Greek diadokoi, meaning successors.
Read.
Which were these 4: Lysimachus, who took Thrace and much of Asia Minor. So
Well,
that
really quickly, not to cut you off, really quickly. The Diadochi, it was actually more than just these 4, but these were the 4 main successors of Alexander the Great. These were the ones that had the majority of the empire and even began to take over the rest of the empire, because there were certain servants or certain successors that had smaller regions that had gotten taken over. But these 4 actually had the bulk, the bigger chunks of it, and we'll see it. We'll see it in a few slides. We'll see it in a moment. Go ahead.
Cassander, who controlled Macedonia and Greece. Ptolemy I, who ruled Egypt, Palestine, Cilicia, Petra, and Cyprus. He also founded the Ptolemaic dynasty, which lasted until the death of Cleopatra the Seventh in 330 BC. And Seleucus I, Nicanor, who ruled the remainder of Asia and founded the Seleucid Empire, which was comprised of Mesopotamia, the Levant, Persia, and part of India.
So these were the 4 main succeeding rulers after Alexander had died, when he had parted his regions. So again, this was the actual empire. This was the comparison of the two. If we really are looking at it, is about twice as big as the Medo-Persian Empire. And then here we go as far as the regions of the successors. So as we see over here, let me see if I can get you to see it. This one, yeah. Oops, wrong. Laser. So as we see right here, or not. 1 second. Yeah, no, I'm just trying to make sure because I keep clicking the wrong one. There we go. So as we see right here, Antigonus, he was a part of the Diadochi at one point. But Lysimachus actually defeated Antigonus to possess some of Asia Minor, which is pretty much the remainder of what he had. And some sources say that Lysimachus ruled over Lydia, Phrygia, and Iona at the time as well. But we see this was originally what Lysimachus was ruling over. He defeated Antigonus and his army taking over this. So it went from just up here to ruling all of this particular region. Then all of pretty much Asia Minor, or the majority of it. Then you had Cassander, which ruled over here. Ptolemy, which ruled in Asia. Then you had Seleucus, who ruled all of this region here. Right? So now let's continue on. Let's go. Let's pick up at verse 10.
First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 10.
I'm sorry. Let's pick up at start at verse 7. We'll pick up at 7.
Verse 7. So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died, and his servants bare rule, every one in his place.
So this is referring to the Diadochi, which was Cassander, Ptolemy, Lysimachus, and Seleucus. So those ones in the region that we just showed in the map, those were the ones that began to bear rule, everyone in his place. Read.
And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years. And evils were multiplied in the earth.
So it said from that point on, they all crowned themselves rulers, and that's how you have those empires, the Seleucid Empire, the Seleucid Empire, the Ptolemaic Empire, and then from even Lysimachus and Cassander, they had their own reign in those areas as well. The difference is it wasn't a full-blown empire. As you saw, they had a very small region. But all of the land that the Greeks had conquered had pretty much been divided between those four. And they had these particular empires. Verse 9.
Verse 9. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth.
So it says when these Greeks came into power, they all conquered. It said evil was multiplied throughout the earth. Or evils were multiplied in the earth, I should say. So that just shows you that's when stuff got really bad. When you look into the history of the Greek way of life, when you look into the heightened what do you call it? The heightened movement. I don't even want to call it a movement, but the heightened lifestyle of homosexuality, sexual immoral acts. When you look at all of the art, the pedophilia, the bestiality, a lot of that stuff, it was going on in Egypt. It was going on amongst, heathen nations, but it was a new level when the Greeks came into power. And it was an even newer level when you see about the, which we'll eventually get around to, the Roman Empire. It said evils were multiplied in the earth when these particular people, so-called white people, the Edomites, came into power. What are we in, verse 10?
Yes.
Read verse 10.
And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been in hostage at Rome, and he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks.
Read.
In those days went out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, Let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow.
So, Antiochus, this man was a bastard. In the words of our beloved bishop, a bastard. He was horrible. We're going to read a little bit on him, but it said there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus surnamed Epiphanes, and we're going to even get the meaning of his name. This man was what you call an audacious individual. He had the audacity. He was probably the most self-centered, egocentric, egotistic, arrogant, just bastard. So it says this man came up, and then in those particular days when Antiochus was ruling, it said there was wicked people in Israel, our own people, that was telling us, hey, let's go ahead and let's conform. Let's just conform to their way of life, because we sitting up here trying to keep the laws, we sitting up here trying to do right, and they giving us hell. They making it hard for us. I just want to live in peace. It ain't that bad. Let's just, they want us to sacrifice this over here to cool. Let's just go ahead and do it. I'm just tired of seeing people dying. I'm tired of seeing people getting arrested for no reason. I'm tired of seeing us getting harassed. I'm tired of it. Let's just go ahead and let's bow down. Let's kiss the ring, right? It said, start at the top of 11.
Got you. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, Let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow.
And it said these people were persuading other people. They was like, man, look, ain't you tired of them always sweating you just because you walking down the street because you got your fringes on? Ain't you tired of them sweating you about what you eating and not eating, what we consider unclean? Ain't you tired of being sweated about that? Well, yeah, man, shit, I am kind of tired of that. Like, I'd love to just go a whole day without having to stress out and looking over my shoulder whether or not something's going to happen to me. Man, let's just go talk to them. Let's go ahead and make that agreement. Let's make a covenant with them. Come on, it ain't really that big of a deal. And walk with me. Let's hear me out. And we'll have so much peace. We could do what we do at the house. But in the eyes of everybody else, man, we ain't gotta wear these fringes, man. It's cool. We can just worship, behind closed doors. But let's just at least play the part. Come on, at least play the part. So I said these wicked people was out here not only wanted to conform, but then started spreading like a virus, talking to all the other people, talking about, man, ain't you tired of it too? well, yeah, I am. Yeah, man, it is kind of a pain in the ass. Man, let's just go talk to him, man. If we do it this way, if we decide to just conform to him, everything will be all right. You know what? You make a good point. Then they went and told the next people. So they was out here spreading this wickedness. Verse 12.
So this device pleased them well.
And it pleased them. Read.
Then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen.
So some of these sellouts went to the king and said, man, we trying to get with y'all, culture. We trying to get with y'all. He said, hey, it's about time. Y'all good now. Go do what y'all do. Go ahead, do. This is what we do. This is our culture. This is what we believe. This is how we move. This is who we sacrifice to. This is who our gods are. You all good now. Go ahead. It said he gave them the license to do it. Read.
Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the custom of the heathens, and made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief.
So when you look up the history of the origin of gems, the gem was actually a Greek, I don't want to say it was a Greek invention, but pretty much that's when it became known. And the Greeks, like I said, they did a lot of homosexual things and sexually immoral things. They used to wrestle in the gyms, booty naked, butt naked. That's how they used to get down. So, you know, when you look at wrestling and MMA and all of those things, it came from not just the Romans, but prior to them, even the Greeks. But they did it it was a little more raunchy. It was a lot more raunchy. It was a lot worse than what we see today. But it said we done built up a gym and we fell right in line. And it says, and we made ourselves uncircumcised. Now, this goes into, just a quick sidebar, this goes into, you know, when a lot of Israel, when you read, I think it's Ephesians, where it talks about the Gentiles who were, I believe, uncircumcised, but made or became circumcised again. This is what it's talking about. It said we started following the customs of the other nations, and we made ourselves uncircumcised. You can't physically do that, but it said you pretty much just said to hell with the Most High. You pretty much said, I'm a Greek at this point. And that's where you get in the New Testament all of the confusion of who were the Greeks. Were the Greeks the other nations, or were they really the heathen? Were they really? No. This was our people that decided to say, nah. Even when you read in the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary, it tells you a Hellenist was a Jew who made Greek their tongue. So we became Greek citizens. We became engulfed in the Greek culture. That's what we decided to be a part of, and strayed away from the Most High. And that's how we made ourselves to become Gentiles, uncircumcised, unclean. Right? So it says, joined ourselves to the heathen and were sold to do mischief. Verse 16. Excuse me. We're going to actually take me to the PowerPoint if we're not there already. And I want to deal with Antiochus Epiphanes. This is the man. Go ahead, read that, Amon.
Right, Antiochus Epiphanes, the fourth. Antiochus the fourth, originally named Mithridates, but renamed Antiochus either upon his ascension or after the death of his elder brother Antiochus, reigning between 215 BCE to 163, and the latter reigning from 175 BCE to the 163 BCE.
Real quick. The first date is actually, he was born in 215, he died in 163, but he reigned from 175 to 163.
Oh, yes, my bad.
Go ahead.
Was one of the Seleucid emperors, son of Antiochus III the Great, who was from 224 to 187 BCE, and brother Seleucus IV, Philopator, from 187 to 75 BCE. The Seleucids ruled the area known as Asia, which would be Babylon, Syria, Palestine, and Upper Asia from 312, when Alexander the Great's empire was divided among his generals. And Antiochus IV's religious zeal for Zeus, of whom he believed himself to be a manifestation.
Real quick, this is the even though we don't give a damn about Greek myths and Greek gods, this man has so much just the nerve. He has so much nerve. He has so much gumption. He said, it says, Antiochus IV's religious zeal for Zeus, of whom he believed himself to be the manifestation. This man thought, which Zeus was pretty much the principal Greek god. He said, that's me. He said, I am the physical version. What you see is Zeus. If Zeus was to come down to earth right now, that's me. That's how much balls this man had. That's how much gumption, how much audacity this man had. He was, in his eyes, not just a god, he was the God, right? Let's go back to, take us back to the PowerPoint. Of whom he believed himself to be the manifestation.
And resulted in the desecration of the Jewish temple in Jerusalem, and in what was a reign of terror for Jews who refused to comply with his policy of Hellenization. This resulted in revolt and eventually in territorial loss and in the loss of political prestige for his successors.
So it says that in the it says, of whom he believed himself the manifestation resulted in the desecration of the Jewish temple in Jerusalem, which is not Jewish, but, you know, the Israelites' temple, and in what was the reign of terror, and what was a reign of terror for Jews who refused to comply with his policies. So us who were trying to keep the law, Israel who was trying to live righteous, it said this man had us living in terror. Let's go to 1 Maccabees. We're going to drop down, chapter 1 still, drop down to verse 20.
1 Maccabees chapter 1 and 20. And after that Antiochus had smitten Egypt, he returned again in the 143rd year and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude.
So really quickly, I guess not even a summary, but he had just conquered Egypt, the empire of the Ptolemaic Empire. He had just conquered Ptolemy, who they referred to as the Pharaoh at the time, was pretty much the ruler of that land. Just conquered him, smashed on Egypt. Now he done took over Egypt. He done took over Asia Minor. He done took over the Persian Empire, Babylon area. And he done made his way down to Egypt, right? So after he done smashed on all of them, he's now pulling up in Israel. And it says, and after Antiochus had smitten Egypt, he returned again in the 143rd year. Read.
Verse 20.
Still 20, yeah.
And returned in the 143rd year and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude.
Now he done pulled up to our land. Read.
And entered proudly into the sanctuary and took away the golden altar and the candlestick of light and all the vessels thereof, and the table of the showbread and the pouring vessels and the vials and the censers of gold and the veil and the crowns and the golden ornaments that were before the temple, all which he pulled off. He took also the silver and the gold and the precious vessels, and he also took the hidden treasures which he found. And when he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having made a great massacre and spoken very proudly.
This is why they said this man was a terror. He pulled up, he went in the sanctuary, he said, oh, this is the house of your God, huh? Okay. I got a lot of gold in here. Hey, let's go ahead and round this all up. Let's go ahead and just take all of it. I want the gold, I want the silver, I want everything up here. Oh shit, y'all hiding stuff. Oh, y'all hiding from me. Y'all hiding treasures. Pull all of that, and just because they got caught hiding it, kill all their asses. He came in and massacred us for no reason. It says he made a great massacre and spoke very proudly. Verse 25.
Therefore there was a great mourning in Israel, in every place where they were, so that the princes and elders mourned. The virgins and young men were made feeble, and the beauty of women was changed. Every bridegroom took up lamentation, and she that sat in the marriage chamber was in heaviness.
So this man came in and tore up so much stuff. He said he pretty much turned the world upside down in Israel. Everybody was heartbroken. Everybody was in the state of mourning. Read.
The land also was moved for the inhabitants thereof, and all the house of Jacob was covered with confusion. And after 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief collector of tribute unto the cities of Judah, which came unto Jerusalem with a great multitude, and spake peaceable words unto them, but all was deceit. For when they had given him credence, he fell suddenly upon the city and smote it very sore, and destroyed much people of Israel.
So he had already came in. He had already tore up the sanctuary. He had already took all the gold. He had already went on a massacre and killed a gang of people. He said, then he gave us 2 years. He said, I'll leave y'all alone. Then he had, what does he call them? Collector of tribute. So pretty much whoever goes around and say, okay, it's time to pay up. Give the king what he's due. Render, as it says in the New Testament, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. Basically taxing us. And we gave him, we said, you know what, here, take your stuff. It said he spoke peaceable words, but unto deceit. Because when we all came out, we paid what we had to pay. It said then he went ahead and killed a gang of our people anyway. It says he spake peaceable words unto them, but all was deceit. And when they had given him credence, so they respected him, they gave him what he needed, gave him what he came and asked for. It said he fell suddenly upon the city and smote it very sore. And he still went around and killed everybody, even though he got what he wanted. That's why it says this man was a nightmare to the Jews. And destroyed much people in Israel. Now let's see even further what this devil did. Read.
And when he had taken the spoils of the city, he set it on fire, and pulled down the houses and walls thereof on every side.
So he went ahead, he killed a gang of people. He then set houses, set our buildings on fire, set everything on fire, pulled down houses, tore up everyone's home. It says, and then, we didn't read 32 yet, right?
Nope.
Read verse 32.
32, but the women and children took they captive and possessed the cattle.
And then he enslaved our women and children, read.
Then builded they the city of David with a great and strong wall, and with mighty towers, and made it a stronghold for them.
So then they pretty much took over, built a barrier around it, and said, this is ours. Read.
And they put therein a sinful nation.
And then they put a bunch of these damn heathens there, read.
Wicked men, and fortified themselves therein. And they stored it also with armor and victuals. And when they had gathered together the spoils of Jerusalem, they laid them up there, so they became a sore snare. For it was a place to lie in wait against the sanctuary and an evil adversary to Israel.
Read.
Thus they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary and defiled it.
So it said they were just sitting there they set up a little spot to pretty much watch over the sanctuary. They said anybody go in there to worship, anybody try to go in that little holy place, bust their ass. They're dead. Kill them. And it said and it says, what was that verse? 36. For it was a place to lie in wait against the sanctuary. So they sitting right outside the sanctuary just waiting. They're like, okay, somebody gonna come because somebody gonna want to talk to their God. You know, this is a very sacred place. Somebody gonna pull up. Boom. Oh, there he goes. All right, we'll wait for him to come out. As soon as he come out, take his head off. That was what they was on. It says, in an evil adversary to Israel. Thus they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary and defiled it. 38.
Insomuch that the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them, whereupon the city was made an habitation of strangers, and became strange to those that were born in her. And her own children left
So
her.
it said we fled. We got on. And he said it was so bad for us. We said, to hell with this. This is ridiculous. It says we had to go. It said, and then it was just the heathen that were there. The heathens were the ones that were now the inhabitants of that land. That's what's that, 39?
That was before, actually.
Oh, excuse me. Read on.
Okay, so verse 39. Her sanctuary was laid waste like a wilderness. Her feasts were turned into mourning. Her Sabbaths into reproach. Her honor into contempt. And had been her glory, as had been her glory, so was her dishonor increased. And her excellency was turned into mourning.
So it said it was so bad that like when you read in Jeremiah where it talks about lamentations, that was the cry of Jeremiah. It said it was so bad that it was just the land itself was hurt. The land itself was mourning. The land itself cried out because of all of the innocent bloodshed, all of the atrocities that had just happened. They done tore up the sanctuary, they done snatched out all the gold, tore down all the houses, killing people just for sport, just for the hell of it, because it's like, well, y'all don't want to bow down, right? All right. For every person that we see walking to the sanctuary, we busting their ass. They got to go. The dead. Again, it said that he was a terror to the Jews. And this is why. Take us to the PowerPoint. So this is what I wanted you to read out of the Josephus. Yeah. So this is an excerpt from the Josephus. You can see the actual website up there. It's universityofchicago.edu. I want to read this one part before you start reading. It says, Antiochus IV Epiphanes, the king of Syria, captured Jerusalem in 167 BC, desecrated the temple by offering the sacrifice of a pig on an altar to Zeus, the abomination of desolation, and seeking to prohibit, quote-unquote, Judaism and Hellenize the Jews. So he sought to prevent us from keeping our laws and worshiping the Most High, and he wanted to Hellenize us and force us into his Greek way of life. Antiochus forbade their religious practices and commanded that the copies of the law be burned, all of which is related by Josephus in the Antiquities of the Jews in Book 7, Chapter 5, Section 4. So go ahead and start right here where this blue mark is.
Got you. Now it came to pass after 2 years in the 145th year.
No, right here. A little further down, right here.
Oh, the blue?
Yeah.
Okay, my bad. He got possession of the city by treachery, at which time he spared not so much as those that admitted him into it on account of the riches that lay in the temple, but led by his covetous inclination, for he saw there was in it a great deal of gold and many ornaments that had been dedicated to it of very great value. And in order to plunder its wealth, he ventured to break the league he had made. So he left the temple bare and took away the golden candlesticks and the golden altar of incense and the table of showbread and the altar of burnt offering.
So this is what we read earlier. It said he took everything. Said originally we had an agreement, but I realized y'all got a lot of nice that I like here. I changed my mind. Read.
And did not abstain from even the veils, which were made of fine linen and scarlet.
He took the damn veil. He took the curtains. Read.
He even emptied it of its secret treasures and left nothing at all remaining, and by this means cast the Jews in a great lamentation. For he forbade them to offer those daily sacrifices which they used to offer to God, according to the law. And when he had pillaged the whole city, some of the inhabitants he slew, and some he carried captive, together with their wives and children, so that the multitude of those captives that were taken alive amounted to about 10,000.
So he didn't kill the gang of us, and he took about 10,000 of us into captivity. Read.
He also burnt down the finest building, and when he had overthrown the city walls, he built a citadel in the lower part of the city, for the place was high and overlooked the temple.
Excuse me, so he built a tower. He built a tower that overlooked the temple, and read on.
And overlooked the temple, on which account he fortified it with high walls and towers, and put into it a garrison of Macedonians. However, in that citadel dwelt the impious and wicked part of the Jewish multitude.
So this was the bottom of the barrel people, no morals, no scruples, just wicked bastards. It said, these were the people I'm going to put in here because I know that they're going to do what I want them to do. So they ain't worried about that damn sanctuary. They ain't worried about that guy. I said, hey, do what I tell you to do. I give you your pay. I give you your peace, and I ain't going to kill you. I said, say less. What you want us to do? Anybody that come out of that temple, they got to go because they ain't listening to me. They talking about this damn Yahweh, whatever. I'm God. So if you see them, if they decide that they ain't gonna listen to what I'm saying, I said this we running my way of life. We doing it my way. We're doing it Zeus manifested way. No damn, nothing. If you see them in that sanctuary, kill them. If you see them going toward that sanctuary, kill them. If you see them trying to keep the Sabbath, kill them. If you see them wearing fringes, kill them. If they don't want to sacrifice swine, kill them. They got to go, right? So I said he put the bottom of the barrel type individuals up there. Let's take it back to the PowerPoint, Nash. Read on, Amon.
From whom it proved that the citizens suffered many and sore calamities. And when the king had built an idol altar upon God's altar, he slew swine upon it, and so offered a sacrifice neither according to the law nor the Jewish religious worship in that country. He also compelled them to forsake the worship which they paid their own God, and to adore those whom he took to be gods, and made them build temples and raise idol altars in every city and village, and offer swine upon them every day. He also commanded them to not circumcise their sons, and threatened to punish any that should be found to have transgressed his injunction.
So he decided we're going to start slaying and having sacrifices to our gods. And we're going to sacrifice what we want to sacrifice. Not what y'all want to sacrifice. That lamb shit and doves and all of that nonsense. No. Give me a pig. That Yahweh or Yahweh, no. We're doing Zeus. That's who we're going to deal with. We're going to do Hermes. We're going to do Kratos. We're going to do Hercules. My gods. Not your God. It said, and he compelled them. Hey, he didn't just sway them like, hey, y'all, you just come on this way. He forced them to do it. It said, he also compelled them to forsake the worship which they paid to their God, and to adore those whom he took to be gods. He made them build temples. He made them raise idol altars in every city and village, and offer swine upon them every day. He also commanded them not to circumcise their sons. If they circumcise their kids, if you see that he's circumcised, kill that little baby, kill their daddy too, kill the whole family, because they clearly ain't listening to me. And I'm their God. I am God. Right? It says he forced them to not, or he told them that they better not circumcise their kids either. It says, and threatened to punish any that should be found to have transgressed his injunction, his law, his rules. Read.
He also appointed overseers who should compel them to do what he commanded.
Again, forcing them. Read.
And indeed, many Jews there who were complied with the king's commands, either voluntarily or out of fear of the penalty that was denounced. But the best men and those of the noblest souls did not regard him.
So, as we will get into next week, we have what was known as the Hasmonean dynasties, the Maccabees. They said, what? Matter of fact, Mattathias was one of the coldest. He got so pissed off. It said, and we won't get it, but you'll read it next week. It says some bastard decided, man, or they told Mattathias, hey, just go sacrifice the swine flesh. He said, hell no, what I look like? No damn fool. To hell with what y'all talking about. Y'all can kill me. And some coon clown said, oh, don't worry, I'll go do it, don't worry. He went up there, he sacrificed that swine's flesh. It said Mattathias was so mad. It said he was shaking. He couldn't even control his spirit. He said he went up there and killed that man on the spot for what he had did. So we had people that was riding, and all of his sons, he taught all of his sons, and his sons was leading the armies. And they was like, man, the hell Antiochus talking about? I don't give a damn if y'all gonna be put to death. Y'all gonna be punished if y'all keeping these laws. You know what? If that's what you're gonna do, then do it. They had that mindset of, I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees. And you ain't going to take that from me. We going to worship the Most High. You got a problem with it? That's your problem. And if you trying to run in here and go to war, best believe we ready. And we down to fight. We down to die. We down to kill. It's nothing. Right? So it said, go back to the PowerPoint for me. So it said, and indeed there were Jews a little further. Okay, so it says, but on which account they where is it? And indeed the Jews who complied, but the best men and those of the noblest souls did not regard him. So the Maccabees and their men, their soldiers, the ones that was trying to live righteous, they said, nobody care what he talking about. We gonna still worship the Most High. It says, but did pay a greater respect to the customs of their country than concern as to the punishment which he had threatened to the disobedient. Read on.
On which account they every day underwent great miseries and bitter torments. For they were whipped with rods, and their bodies were torn to pieces, and were crucified while they were still alive and breathed. They also strangled those women and their sons whom they had circumcised, as the king had appointed, hanging their sons about their necks as they were upon the crosses. And if there were any sacred books of the law found, it was destroyed. And those with whom they were found miserably perished also.
So it says that we had a lot of righteous men at the time that was ready to die and did die, or what you call, quote unquote, martyrs. They was ready to die for the Most High. They said, hey, and I think we may actually read it. I don't remember if it's in this chapter, but it basically said it's better that we fall at the hands of men than to fall in the hands of the Most High. If you're going to kill us, you're going to kill us. But understand that the Most High still got our back. So it said they went through all type of stuff. And then eventually Antiochus got to a group of men, brothers, and he met his match. So let's read on. Actually, I want to get one more thing out of the, even though I believe it stated it on the last one, but I want to get it one more time. Take me to the PowerPoint. So this is out of the Encyclopedia Britannica. All of the sources you can see at the top. But it says, where are we? When Antiochus returned from Egypt in 167, he took Jerusalem by storm and enforced its Hellenization. The city forfeited its privileges and was permanently garrisoned by the Syrian soldiers. The Greeks, dropping down the revolt of Judas Maccabeus, the Greeks and those friendly toward them were united into the community of the Antiochans, or the Antiochans. The worship of Yahweh, or Yahawah, and all the Jewish rites were forbidden on pain of death. So for us trying to keep the laws, you were put to death. In the temple, an altar to Zeus, Olympios, was erected, and sacrifices were to be made at the feet of an idol in the image of the king. So again, this man swore up, and he was Zeus. He was the god. He was the principal, primary, top god. And it says that they created a temple, they created an altar to Zeus, that he had people sacrificing to this idol in the image of Antiochus. This man was crazy. But just showing you that we were, it said in a couple of the sources that we were sacrificing swine's flesh, but you also now see who we were being forced to sacrifice, and who, when you read in Maccabees 2, now you'll have an idea of when this man went to go ahead and sacrifice to these idol gods, you know who they were sacrificing to. Let's start at verse now 40. I'm sorry, 41.
In the first Maccabees?
First Maccabees, 1 and 41.
Got you. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath.
So again, it wasn't like he just sent out a decree and said, hey, if you want to, we'll put you in a better space. Why not just sacrifice unto me and sacrifice unto our gods, and I promise you everything will be better. He said, look, you got two choices. You either get down or you lay down. And when you lay down, you stay down. So he was letting them know, y'all need to roll with what we saying. Otherwise, you're going to die. That circumcision stuff is out. sacrificing to in your sanctuary to your God, that's out. That Sabbath stuff, out. Fringes, out. Tabernacles, all of these funny little days, out. You ain't doing that no more. We ain't doing that here. Pig, y'all sacrificing that now. Pigeons, turtle doves, lamb, bulls, all out. We doing pig sacrifices to Zeus Olympios. That other stuff, done. Or you're done. It's your choices. So it said he wrote to the people. And it says, yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion, his practices, and sacrificed unto idols, and profaned the Sabbath. Verse 44.
For the king has sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land.
Hey, we got a message from the king. Read.
And forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days.
Everything was done. There wasn't no Passover, wasn't no first fruits, wasn't no no atonement, no trumpets, no tabernacles, none of that. We might have had Purim by now, but we did. Wasn't no Purim. We hadn't had Simon Nicanor dedication yet, but no new moons, none of that. Out, done. You're not keeping none of that anymore. It said all the festival days, everything, all of that's being profaned now. 46.
And pollute the sanctuary and holy people.
Read.
Set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts.
Read.
That they should also leave their children uncircumcised, and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation.
It said any damn thing that you can think of that their God says that they can't do, put it all on the table and make them do it all. Any way that they can be profane, do it. I don't care about it. The fact that they want to worship this God or whatever, the fact that they want to do these things, we're going to make them do the exact opposite. Read.
To the end that they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die.
He said, and if they say they don't want to do it, or if they say over my dead body, well, you know what? Grant their wish. Go ahead. Since they got the balls to tell me no, they gotta go. Read.
In the selfsame manner wrote he to his whole kingdom, and appointed overseers over all the people, commanding the cities of Judah to sacrifice city by city. Then many of the people were gathered unto them, to wit, every one that forsook the law, and so they committed evils in the land.
So it said they all came together, and they knew that they had to do these things. And they said, well, I hope the Lord has mercy. It's either that or we get killed. I don't really want to die. I mean, I got to do what I got to do. I got to save my kids. I got to save my mom. And I know the Lord's going to understand. I don't really want to do it, but Antiochus said he going to kill us. Where's God? I thought he had our back. What's going on? This is where we were. This is where we had gotten. It said a gang of us was doing it. It says, and whosoever would not, 51, in the selfsame manner wrote he to the whole kingdom, and appointed overseers over all the people, commanding the cities of Judah to sacrifice city by city. Then many of the people were gathered unto them, to wit, every one that forsook the law, and so they committed evils in the land. Every excuse in the book to this day. Well, I got to work, we in captivity. Oh, if I don't work, we don't eat. Oh, I got, it's for the kids. Whatever excuse they can come up with. It says evil was multiplied. It says evils were committed in the land, right? Or they committed evils in the land. Verse 53.
And drove the Israelites into secret places, even wheresoever they could flee for succor.
So it says the righteous ones was like, hell no. And they chased us out of the land. And it said we ran wherever we could to find comfort, wherever we could be secure, wherever we could keep the laws, wherever we could please the Most High. So we just ran and we hid there. Read.
Now the 15th day of the month Caslu, in the 140th and 5th year, they set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar.
So this is when they went into our sanctuary, sacrificed a pig on our royal altar, and sacrificed it to Zeus instead of the Most High. Read.
And builded idol altars throughout the cities of Judah on every side.
And then they went ahead and just like we had those little cities where we would go to the Levites to sacrifice because not everybody lived near Jerusalem, and we would have to do, almost, I think, weekly sacrifices or almost daily sacrifices. So they had cities set up for us to go to the Levites and make sacrifices. It said they instead set up a gang of cities where we sacrificed to all of the different idols of the Greeks, all of the profane, unclean animals we sacrificed to the Greeks. Read.
Throughout the cities of Judah on every side, and burnt incense at the doors of their houses and in the streets.
Read.
And when they had rent in pieces the books of the law which was found, they burnt them with fire.
And they found our script. All praise to the Most High that they didn't get every single one, and two, they didn't kill all the prophets either. But every book that they could find that had our history, that had our laws, that had our culture, that had our story, they said, dump that. Ain't no Jews, ain't no Israelites, ain't y'all Greeks, y'all what we call Hellenists. Y'all Greeks now. Ain't no damn Yahawah, Yahweh, ain't that. Ain't no savior. I'm your savior. I am your king. I am your God. You will sacrifice to who I say to sacrifice to. None of that. They said then they found our books, found our history, found our information. So we didn't even have a paper trail anymore. We didn't have any knowledge of anything. It said, and they burnt it with fire. They tore it apart. They tore it up. Verse 57.
Verse 57. And wheresoever is found the book of the testament, or if any consented to the law, the king's commandment was that they should put him to death.
So they keep reiterating this. You done seen this a number of times, so you understand. It was either, like state property says, you get down or you lay down. And when you lay down, you going to stay down. So you either going to rock with what we saying, rock with what we telling you to do, or you die. Your mama die. Your auntie die. Your kids die. Your wife dies, your siblings, everyone's dying, unless they decide that they're going to comply or die. Those are your two choices. That's what the hell we went through. That's what was going on. That's why when you read the history, it says Antiochus was a terror to the Jews. He forced our people into these things. Do it or die. Do it or be tortured. Do it or be whipped to death. Do it or be cut into pieces. What the hell was going on? But you'll see next week, all praise to the Most High. The Most High dealt with that bastard. 58.
Thus did they, by their authority, unto the Israelites every month, to as many as were found in the cities. Mm-hmm. Now the 25th day of the month, they did sacrifice upon the idol altar, which was upon the altar of God. Mm-hmm. At which time, according to the commandment, they put to death certain women that had caused their children to be circumcised. Mm-hmm. And they hanged the infants about their necks, and rifled their houses, and slew them that had circumcised them.
And we read it earlier in the account of the Josephus. It said women who got their sons circumcised to abide by the law were killed, their houses destroyed, their babies hanged. just for keeping the law. And it's literally happened in almost every captivity. So don't be surprised when it gets to a point where it's illegal to talk about this book in the fairly near future. It's happened every time. Babylon. Well, with the exception, maybe the Persians and the Medes weren't that bad, right?
I believe the Persians themselves, they were a little more lenient. Although the heathens around about, they tried to do some mess, but the Persians were.
So for the most part, that's what we went through. You try to keep these laws, it's going to be a problem. Let's read 62.
Verse 62. Howbeit many in Israel were fully resolved and confirmed in themselves not to eat any unclean thing.
So now this is the thing. When it's your time, where your heart going to be? Because it said, man, it was cats dying, being put to death, being tortured for keeping these laws. And it said, and seeing all of that, because let's be real, a lot of cats be all talk. It sound good. It sounds great until you get put in that situation. There's been a number of people that, man, oh my mama, if such and such would have happened, I would have dealt with it like this. If such and such happens, I'm going to do it like this. And as soon as the situation arises, they freeze like a deer in headlights. What do I do? And then when the pressure gets put on them, a lot of them fold. They break. I wasn't really saying that. I didn't really mean that. So think about it when your life is on the line. How many of y'all really is real? How many of y'all 10 toes down for the Most High like you say? We read about Peter, and people talk about Peter like, man, he denied Christ 3 times. Put death in your face. Somebody got a gun in your face. You one of them Israelite niggas? Where you really gonna be at? Where your faith really gonna be at? I see you got them things on. Them, what's them fringes on your shirt? You one of them, right? You really get put in that situation. A lot of our people, gang of our people folded. It says a lot of us decided, well, let's sacrifice to Zeus. Let's sacrifice the unclean things. Let's profane the Sabbath. Let's stop keeping the feast days. And then you had people that saw what was going on, saw people being killed for keeping the law and being righteous. And they said, I'd rather it be by them than it be by the Most High. That's how you know it got to be true. What the hell they would be killing us for if it wasn't nothing real? So it says, howbeit. So even with all of that going on, many in Israel were fully resolved. They had it fully locked in their mind. They came to the resolution. They came to the what is it called? The affirmation. They affirmed in their mind, this is what we're doing. And confirmed in themselves not to eat any unclean thing. We're not finna defile ourselves. Do what the hell you got to do to us. 63.
Wherefore they chose rather to die, that they might not be defiled with meats, and that they might not profane the holy covenants. So then they died.
So this shows people with this was individuals with true faith in the Most High, ready to die for what they believed. It said, well, you're going to kill us. Kill us. I'm not eating that. I'm not eating no unclean thing. I'm not defiling myself. I'm not profaning myself. I'm not defiling the temple. I'm not profaning the temple. I ain't making no damn excuses. Well, you know, the law really don't say word for word exactly that. I'm not none of that. If you gonna do it, then do it. But best believe it, you're going to have to kill me because I'm not going to abide in what you're saying. I'm not going to comply. It's not happening. 64.
Verse 64. And there was very great wrath upon Israel.
And it says there was a very great wrath upon Israel. So this was the start of the Hellenization and the takeover of Jerusalem, of the land of Judah, of Israel. And what we'll get into next week is known as the Hasmonean dynasty, the Maccabees, starting with Mattathias more than likely. And you're going to see when we read about Antiochus, and he got exactly what he deserved. This man was a devil of devils. He terrorized our people, tortured them, beat them, killed them, forced them to defile themselves, defile the sanctuary, defile the temple, mocked the Most High, profaned his altar, sacrificed unclean things on his altar, used his altar basically pushed the Most High out of his seat and stuck a damn idol in his place. He said, y'all ain't sacrificing to no damn Yahawah here. This is Zeus's seat. This is who you gonna worship. That's like a man kicking you out your house. Another man kicking you out your house, bringing some man, another man in after. It's like a person kicking you out of your house, going to find someone else, bringing them into your house, saying, hey, this is your home. Hey, let's invite everyone over here to celebrate your new home. And you just kind of sitting back like, that's my home. What the what's going on? He kicked the Most High out of his altar, his mercy seat, his sanctuary, and defamed it and profaned it. Defiled it and profaned it. So next week, we're going to get into the Maccabees. And y'all going to see that devil got everything that he deserved. That bastard got all that he asked for. And all praise be to the Most High for it. But with that, we're going to go ahead and close it out. That was the introduction to the Hellenization period. Again, from Alexander the Great. Got a little bit of history on him, his conquering, his reign, his time period of reign, everything that he conquered during his conquest, what it looked like. We got into the bigger portion of his successors, what was referred to as the Diadochi or Diadochi. And then we got into the earliest main adversary of Israel, referring to Antiochus Epiphanes, God manifest. So with that, we're going to go ahead, get ready to send up our prayers to the Most High, get ready to send our prayers up to Israel. Most High willing, it was edifying to the people. Most High willing, y'all got a better understanding of even our history. And with this information, next week's information, and probably even the week after, you'll be able to start piecing together the Old Testament and the New Testament, seeing where this Greek and Gentile and all of these things came in, just by understanding the history. That's the importance of the history. That's why the scriptures say in Job 8:8, it says, inquire of the ancient, let me grab it real quick because I don't want to butcher the scripture. Job chapter 8 and verse 8.
Let me get it.
Go ahead.
Job 8 and verse 8. For inquire, I pray thee, of the former age, and prepare thyself to the search of their fathers.
So it says that's why you're supposed to inquire of the old times, supposed to inquire of the former days of your history. It says, and set yourself to search for the history of your fathers. That information that a lot of our people don't know. We're in an age now where little kids don't even know what the hell slavery is. So we're slowly getting to a point where we're losing ourselves, losing our history. So this is why these classes are very important. And it creates confusion in the scriptures, in our actual history, in our history book. It creates confusion because then you get in the New Testament where everyone's like, oh, everybody's grafted in, and the Gentiles or the other nations, and the Most High loves everybody, and all this other nonsense that ain't even in the scriptures. But because you don't understand your history, we get confused. Romans 15:4 says, for whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we, through patience and comfort of the scriptures, might have hope. So all of this information is for us to continue to grow in the spirit, for us to continue to grow closer to the Most High, learn our history. So, like I said, in the next couple of weeks, you'll get a lot more information, a lot more in-depth information regarding our history. And I guess we'll get to the happier side of this, where this devil who was persecuting us, killing us, robbing us, profaned our temple, profaned our people, tortured us, he gonna get what he deserved. And all praise be to the Most High for it. So with that, we're gonna go ahead and get ready to send up our prayers to the Most High. Amadium, Wapanya, Wa Yawah Shalom.